So when did you decide to start as a Foley artist? Like, as it's like for Foley artist is not the most well-known job, like for people who are like outside of the music and film industry. How did you discover this world and how did you step in this field at first?
So I discovered it very early on when I looked into film, because there was a test I had to do as application for the apprenticeship, and that was editing Foley for a short movie. That was very cool, and that was the first time I ever was in touch with Foley. So one of the first things ever was Foley that I did, editing, not knowing what I was actually doing, but it was good enough for them to hire me or to take me as an apprentice. And then throughout the first years, I did tons of Foley editing. That was basically my main thing in the very beginning. Of course, it was always part of my working process as a sound designer, ordering Foley from artists or from studios and then editing the stuff and then putting it into the main mix and then participating in the main mix and see what's being done with the Foley and how it actually ends up in the main mix. I rarely recorded Foley with artists as a recordist, just occasionally over all those years. But then within the 7 years of being at De facto Motion in Berlin, we built new facilities, and I was asked if I maybe want to become a Foley artist, because there will be a recording studio and we have enough projects to hire someone full-time, and I was already full-time employee there. So I had the opportunity to think about that for 2 years, if I want to do that or not. And then within these 2 years, I found a mentor. His name is Carsten Rey. He already trained people in the 90s. The 2 people he trained are still active as Foley artists. So Carsten trained both of them. And then many years later, he trained me as well. And then the first project he did for me was I just watched, participated just by being there and having a look. The second movie, I already assisted him a little bit. And then the third movie, I did myself then already. Just asking him when I couldn't do the scene or it was too complex, then he was in the mixing stage. So I could just knock on the door there, then asking him to help me. So he came and did the scene for me. And that's how I learned the first couple of movies I did in his studio. And then at a certain point in time, the studio at my workplace was finished. And then we just took it from there and recorded Foley every day until I stopped working there for maybe 3 years.
How did you start to build your own studio, and how long does it take? Also the main cost of it, because you have like lots of gear, equipment. Do you invest into the equipment, or did you take years to collect all the concrete, the carpet and so on to do, for example, footsteps?
So the actual props are not the most expensive stuff. So the concrete and the carpet, this is just peanuts. You need that very early on if you want to start out. This is the basic fundamentals you need. But the equipment is a way bigger topic, and also the acoustic panels and all the treatment in the room. That is a whole different topic. So I decided to become a freelancer already in 2016. So that's when I started to buy the first equipment. There was an opportunity for me to break free from my employment. I took the chance and bought my first filter preamp and also a reverb and basically some stuff that I needed to record on my own. I needed an iMac and Pro Tools license. So these things I bought in 2016, I think. But then the whole freelance thing didn't work out. So I then kept all the gear. So I had my little edit suite ready because I couldn't really go with the full-on Foley freelance thing as planned. And then from there, over the years, I always bought a little bit here and there. And then when I decided to build my own studio, I took a huge loan and then invested a lot. I mean, almost 100K to buy all the necessary stuff that I was missing. I mean, the first studio I built was a Dolby Atmos mixing room. So that was, of course, a lot of money that went into that as well. But this money I actually didn't really spend because it was a lease, that all the equipment was a lease. Then after I closed down that studio, it was all going away. But the stuff that I actually have now, or what's left from my first studio is all the acoustic treatment, and that was professionally done, custom made, and that was around 25,000 alone. I needed an AC, I needed so many other things, lighting equipment, additional outboard gear, because in the beginning I used the preamps from my interface, and I had just one preamp of the one that I actually want to use because of the filter. I summed all the preamps from the interface and then used the filter on the sum in order to not having to buy 4 mic pre's with the filters. I just used one and summed and filtered the sum of everything. That was how I saved money in the first place. But then when I invested then in the final studio, I bought an additional 3 preamps and also additional 4 EQs and 4 compressors, which was also around 6,000 or something. The studio desk was around 5,000 euros.
How it is to work with friends in those kind of industry, and like how do you set the boundaries of like being friends and working together with like salary or like contract?
What I learned is that you have to be very specific about the roles you have when you work together, and then the roles change when you are friends. If you mix that up or it's always the same, then it can be very tricky, because let's say in the friendship you have a hard time. I had this intern at Ubisoft. We developed that friendship, and it was clear I'm a senior Foley artist and they were an intern. I was the boss. But in the friendship, as I went through this painful time of divorce, and the friend was superior in the friendship because they kind of helped me through that difficult time. There was a point where it wasn't really possible for me to maintain the mentorship role because things that I wanted or asked for weren't acted upon. And then for strange reasons. And then I couldn't really fix that anymore. There was no way to break through to that person anymore. They would continue listening to what I say and do what I want. Another example was with another friend of mine who I trained as my mixer, and I was very unhappy with him that he didn't really learn the fundamentals. So he was basically good as a mixer, but he didn't know anything about audio engineering. So I always told him, look, you should learn the fundamentals. You should be able to fix something if something's broken with a mixing desk, any channel doesn't work, or there's a routing issue within the whole Pro Tools, outboard, whatever situation. You should be able to understand the problem and fix it. If I'm not around, you're lost. You have a good ear, you can operate Pro Tools, it's good, but that doesn't mean you are done with the learning. So he refused to do that, and then we had a huge issue over that. And when I then said we can continue working together, your apprenticeship is whatever it takes 1 year for you to finish, we can still continue working together, but I'm not your mentor anymore because I don't see the point.
Okay.
And that then caused a huge conflict. So that is something I learned the hard way. So you have to really be clear about the roles. And then when you leave or you stop working, then you can go back to the friendship role.
Are you still right now doing different jobs to like expand your outcomes, like incomes or money, or are you only satisfied with the Foley Artist recording?
I really enjoy mentoring people and teaching in general. So that is something I do as well. And that is also a revenue stream that I'm really passionate about and that I want to expand on. Because I also think that this is a way to make myself more independent of the industry and the industry ups and downs. Because if there's no project coming anymore, then I still can do mentoring. There would be also other options for me, supervision things for movies, or at least Foley supervision, and then hire an editor and provide all the services there. That is something I plan for the future. But for example, doing Foley editing myself is just not really worth it, because I can earn way more when I record Foley than just editing it. And therefore, if I can keep myself busy with recording, I am not very keen on doing the editing because it's just a fraction of the money.
I believe that you're aware of like all the technologies growing and the AI like taking lots of space in every industries, and especially in movies and music industry. What do you think about it as a Foley artist with like the database growing up and the AI generation with Foley? What do you think about the future of Foley artists?
I think there will always be the need of good Foley artists. How far AI can take it, I don't know. Maybe it can be a useful addition, even for us, if we cannot come up with something, we don't have the prop, or it's just we want to have some inspiration from. We can just use AI and prompt something and see what it can come up with, and then maybe take that as a layer or whatever. I think that could be useful for us as Foley artists. For people who cannot afford Foley, that is also a good thing, that AI maybe make a huge improvement on all the available tools, and maybe new tools come so that you can do Foley passes without budget as well. In the end, when you think about the magic of Foley performance and that things always happen in a way that you really didn't plan, I rehearse something 10 times, but then when I do the actual performance, it's the 11th time and it sounds different from the first 10 times. And sometimes the thing that I didn't really want to do actually does the trick. Something happens and it sounds great, but I really didn't intend that particular thing. And that happens all the time. So how should AI do that unpredictable things and that error generation? If it can do that one day, and everything and all the nuances with all the details and emotion, how should you track an image for emotion? And how should you track someone walking with all the details of this person is sad, this person is happy, this person is injured, and what particular injury? And either you have someone who prompts that into it, or the thing is so intelligent that it can really track everything and then has a database that is so huge that it can do that perfectly. I mean, if that's the case someday, I think still the human touch will then be missing.
Do you use your social media as Instagram to value your job as you're doing some reels or interview contact like this? Are you using those social media to value your job and to show the world how it is to work as a Foley artist?
Yeah, I use it to promote myself, to build a brand around myself, to help people with that, that they can learn it for free if they want, just by watching my content. And then also finding new clients through that is, of course, an angle, just by getting myself out there and that people know what I stand for, and then they can see how I approach things, and then they can already decide if they think I'm good or not, or if they like my style or not. And then they can decide if they want to reach out to me and hire me. And then on the other hand, the mentoring thing. If people think or feel they need more mentoring and more feedback and more contact with me as their mentor, they can do that by joining the Pro Audio Academy or booking some one-on-one sessions with me. And that is all through social media.
What are for you the most essential skills? You were talking about communication and also clearing things up. But for you, what are the most essential skills to achieve success in this industry and for you as a Foley artist?
So yeah, as a Foley artist, you need a minimal amount of talent in order to be able to do the job and to learn it quickly. Then you need a lot of time. You need to invest into the thing itself, a lot of practice. That is true for everything. If you want to do sound effects editing, dialogue editing, if you want to be a re-recording mixer, all these things need a lot of time doing the actual work. And then prior to that, you need some basic fundamental knowledge about audio engineering, of course. You have to have good taste in audio, or you have to develop that through having people around you who have good taste and then learning from them. So let's say all the technical stuff, that is something absolutely necessary if you want to kill it out there. You have to be killer good in what you do. That is actually something everyone kind of expects from you if you want to be hired or you apply for some certain job. Of course, if it's a junior role, no one expects 15 years of experience, but they expect certain amount of taste, certain amount of knowledge, certain amount of speed and experience, all in the respective levels. But let's say that you are a good sound designer, tasteful sound person. That is something that everyone expects. That doesn't make you special. Then the other soft skills that are needed, how to present yourself. People should understand who you are, how it would feel to have you around in the team or as a partner or collaborator. So networking is a really huge thing there. how to reach out to people, always coming with value instead of just asking things of people. Make soft introductions by liking comments or commenting yourself, or, getting on a superficial level in touch with people before you actually get into their DMs and ask them stuff, or make yourself valuable in whatever way. Find out what people want, give it to them. Find out if you can get the thing from them that you want, but not just asking off randomly, can I work with you, or that doesn't work. The skill has to be there, the passion has to be there, the dedication has to be there, the willingness to put in the hours, and a lot of hours in order to get to a certain level, and then all the networking and soft skills. And also, from my point of view, how to present yourself online. It's way better to have an Instagram or LinkedIn page and put content out there every day than spending half a year in building a website and a portfolio, and then no one ever knows about your website, and for half a year no one sees your content and your process, and then after 6 months you have a website that 5 people click on and there's a show reel. This doesn't make sense anymore.